Does Gunn still want Pattinson in the DCU? And is the holdup Matt Reeves? Hey everyone, this is Digital Charcuterie. My name is James. Thanks for stopping by. If you're looking forward to the Batman Part 2, if you're looking forward to the DCU, hit that subscribe button. We talk it here, we break it down, and we discuss it all the time on this channel. Having a blast discussing the Batman 2, Penguin, and this Superman movie that looks fucking phenomenal. All that out of the way though, we're going to keep discussing this topic until, I don't know, pigs fly or something. So here we go. On the Hot Mic podcast on YouTube right here, Jeff Sneider, the Sneider, said some stuff that he heard about the DCU and Matt Reeves when John Rocha pressed him, saying that Campia had heard some stuff about Matt Reeves possibly taking a larger stake in the DCU, having more creative control over there. Sneider was somewhat reluctant to answer, couldn't figure out the wording he wanted, but he finally gave in and said that he still believes that Gunn wants Pattinson as Batman in the DCU. Now, I did a video on this 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Like every week I do a video on this topic because it keeps popping up. Gunn was also kind of asked that on the Happy Sad Confused podcast, and he never denied it. He said, yeah, I contemplated it, but he never said that it's completely out of the picture. In December, 1 year ago, 2023, he did say that Pattinson Batman would remain separate from the DCU, and that was the deal that was made with Matt Reeves. The deal was Pattinson was a Reeves versus Batman, and the DCU would have a separate Batman. Now, whatever deal that is might have gone out the window now. There might be more talks. Again, I believe they have a really good working relationship. They're making this dynamic duo movie, which I keep bringing up because I'm super excited for. I think it comes out in like 2028 or 2029. I have the date somewhere written down. But I'm really excited for that. I think it's going to be super cool. So I think they work well together, or maybe that's just their way of saying, you know what, we can't figure this out. Let's work on this and see how it goes. I don't know, like to patch things up, kind of like, here's some money for you, Jim Matt Reeves, stick around. I don't really know, but look, my opinion is, I did a video also, can two Batman exist? And ultimately, I think I came to the conclusion that yes, they could. However, you need to get the audience on board, and not the audience that's watching this video. We're not the audience that they need to get on board. We're obviously on board. The audience they need to get on board are the general audience, the fans, the casual moviegoers who are not going to understand that there's two Batman at play. Those are the fans that need to get on board with them. And how do you do that? Also, years ago, before the James Gunn hiring, the James Gunn Peter Safran hiring, David Zaslav came out and said, we're not going to have 7 Batman running around. To paraphrase, he said something to that effect. They're not going to have that many Batman running around. Well, is two is not 7, but 2 is still a multiple, right? You don't want to confuse people. So is that still the case? And, you know, James Gunn, I think, look, what Snyder's saying here is that if Matt Reeves kind of does cave and give Pattinson to the DCU, he's going to want some creative control over the Batman character and how he's utilized in that world. And what Snyder's saying here is that part of the problem could be James Gunn and, of course, the ego. And if you don't, look, I think James Gunn is actually a brilliant filmmaker. I don't think actually. I think he is a brilliant filmmaker. Everybody says he is. You watch his movies now, whether like his humor or not, whatever. But I just think like the things he's been doing lately, everyone he seems to, like, I don't know, just get better and better, and he seems dialed in. And I think the Superman movie is going to be his masterpiece, his personal masterpiece. But he has a giant ego. That's very clear. Right? Like every time he does things, like, I'm making Superman. Look at my Superman movie. That's how it always is. And God bless him. He could do whatever the hell he wants. He's the head of a studio. He's the head of a studio, so let him do it. But he's always front and center, right? You don't really see that many directors are that front and center on what they're doing. And studio execs are rare, like Kathleen Kennedy. You can say what you want, but she pops in and out every once in a while. But not to the extent of James Gunn. So he's very there. So what he's saying is his ego's at play. And when it comes time to do a Batman and Superman on screen together, because look, last time Batman v Superman, I enjoyed that movie. Almost nobody else does. And if you argue with me, I'll show you videos that I did on this channel 6, 7, 8 years ago where I get lambasted by guests for liking that movie. Because I like that movie, but nobody liked that movie. It didn't do well at the box office. Like Batman and Superman, that movie together needs to make $1 billion. Don't believe me? Let's look at Deadpool and Wolverine. That made $1 billion, and everyone knew going into it. Like the minute they're like Hugh Jackman, $1 billion, and that's Batman and Superman. What was it? 8 years ago, 9? Whenever that movie came out, 9 years ago. that should have hit that $1 billion. Anyway, besides the point. So James Gunn is going to want to spearhead that one and probably direct that film. And I completely agree with him on this one. I think that's the one that James Gunn is looking at. I don't think he has a personal interest in directing a standalone Batman movie, and that's what he gave to Andy Muschietti. But I do believe he wants to do a Batman and Superman, put them on the screen and be like, look, I made this work. I made these two characters succeed. And that, I honestly believe that. And so that's where the Matt Reeves thing could kind of come into play. He's like, maybe he wants to do it, or maybe he doesn't feel they would have to be a good fit. I've seen comments on my videos here that say Pattinson wouldn't work. Their worlds are too different. Now, I agree, but I also disagree, because no matter what world Batman is in, Batman has no superpowers. His main villains don't have superpowers. Not all of them, but his main ones don't have superpowers. So no matter what world you put Bruce Wayne in, he's always out of place in it, in a way, right? So I actually, the more I think about it, the more I think that's kind of a moot point. It's kind of a moot point to do in the to bring him in. Okay, how are we supposed to believe that Pattinson Batman exists in a world where there are superheroes? Well, it's year 2 of Pattinson, so maybe they came a little bit later, right? Maybe the superheroes came a little bit later. Who knows? But I think you can make it work. I think also what they're doing in the DCU is making them separate individual stories, right? Like the Superman movie apparently is not going to purposefully connect to any other movies. It's not going to lead into another movie. It's going to be its own isolated story. And if that's the case, then I think you just accept Batman being in Gotham as Batman being in Gotham. And if he goes to Metropolis, oh, look at that, Superman's here. And the thing is, even the events, maybe you could argue with the flooding at the end, but with the majority of events in the first Batman, I don't see a need for a superpowered hero to show up and deal with any of that, right? Like I just don't think that is an argument to be made. No, I think it would make sense if one did, don't get me wrong, but I just think that's when you're just kind of like pushing and forcing the issue and saying like coming up with reasons why it wouldn't work. So I don't have a problem with it. I think they would work. That being said, I kind of want to see a separate Batman. I want to see a different Batman. I love Pattinson, man. Love Pattinson Batman. I did a review on this one. I did the Penguin. I love what they're doing over there. But I also believe that there's a time and a place right now where we can have a different variation of Batman. We've gotten multiple of them in the comics, obviously. There's someone very different. And, it'd be nice to see a different version. Now, if you want to take Pattinson and have him grow or whatever, that's fine. But I don't know where they're going, because they also want this to be like the Damian Wayne, right? The Brave and the Bold version. So Damian Wayne's and they're not going to get there in the Reeves trilogy. So I don't know how you do that to pretend. The problem, of course, is it's taking so long for the Reeves movies to get going that at some point, even if James Gunn took his time with Batman the Brave and the Bold, which he's doing, because clearly that script's not ready. I think he was planning on doing that one sooner, but there's something not right with that script, and Supergirl's probably getting what Batman should have had. But either way, like, he's taking his time with it, and James Gunn is probably like, well, I want to get Batman off the ground and I don't want to confuse people. And he's probably trying to figure that out. And the easiest solution is just bringing Pattinson over and being like, you already know Batman. You already know him. Here he is. But again, though, if you're going to take Pattinson and give him to Andy Muschietti, I could totally see Matt Reeves being like, what are you doing? This is my guy. This is part of my story. So I think it's a sticky situation. I think, honestly, as much as two Batman is weird, I think you got to do the two Batman thing. That's what I think it is right now. Two Batman, that's what you got to do. And I think it is, again, like, it's not ideal because you're going to confuse a lot of people. And I think, honestly, that's when superhero fatigue can also start to take over. Batman fatigue specifically will start to take over, where people are like, well, why am I getting two Batman movies in 2 years that are very different Batman? Now, for me, probably for you, we'd be like, let's go. Can't wait. It's Batman. But again, I don't, it starts to get odd at that point. But I think, Gunn, not in a rush, but probably by 2030, he's going to want Batman and Superman on a silver screen together. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking a big event. I think that'll be like the first big event. I don't think it's going to be Justice League. I think Batman and Superman will be the first big event in the DCU. Now, obviously, because he's introducing superheroes in Superman right away, you could have other superheroes in that, unlike Batman v Superman, which even someone who liked it like me would suggest that shoving in the rest of the Justice League in there was so forced. Wonder Woman worked for the most part, but the other one's like, look at this file. And then you're like, oh, okay. Why? Why? So I think because they did that, they can do it better now. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I would love to hear what you think of all of this. Do you believe that Reeves wants to be involved? Do you believe that he might get some leadership in the DCU, or is this James Gunn's baby and James Gunn's gonna ride it all the way to the finish line? Also, if you haven't checked out Holy Christmas Batman from my friend Brian Royer, link in the description below. It is a jolly good time. Thanks everybody for watching. I really appreciate you spending your time here with me. Give us a like and a subscribe. Until next time, may be the master of your own universe.